like them my friends because I don't know what else to do. I got my high school records recently. Yay me! I went into a government facility, bitch. But no, it was very weird because everyone I used to know that worked there wasn't there anymore. So, I went into this building, talked, and did not smoke the day of. Went into the building, asked for my records, and they just handed them to me in a vanilla envelope. So we're gonna read some of those if I can find them, so you can understand just how they define them. So if I can find those, that is. Hold on. Yep. It's right over here. Yeah, see, I got a big stack of them. Grade 7. Grade 7. They said, very positive attitude in class, has a positive attitude. That was my favorite teacher. Ivana Fogarty. She said that I had a positive attitude in class, which is nice. Then there was the teacher I didn't like. He said, good skill in outcomes covered, good effort. And then the teacher I did not like, which, by the way, I hated this teacher. I absolutely hated her. She said, must review and practice work before assessments, has a positive attitude. Well, here's my question. How the fuck are we supposed to practice concepts if you're the teacher and you're supposed to be teaching the concepts to the kids, but you only teach the kids that are like progressing well? If you don't spend some of that time working on the students that aren't progressing well, then of course I'm not going to understand the fucking concept. Inconsistent understanding of concepts. Again, all of that could have been worked out if I was taught. You know? Frequently unprepared for class. It was a French class and I was dissociative executive disorder. So my entire bag, you know how Albert Einstein was like super chaotically disorganized in almost everything he did? Yeah, he's a genius. But he had a disorganized space. And it was very clear to anyone who walked in that that's what was going on. And they said, like, there's debates over whether he was autistic or not. Let's be honest. Any man who's into math that hard probably has a little touch of autism. So, yeah, frequently unprepared for class. Satisfactory progress, though. So, clearly I was making progress. Grade 6, the year before that, difficulty spelling, grammar, punctuation. So, dyslexia. They were trying to say I had dyslexia. And difficulty in inferential reading comprehension. So, basically, inferring things, really difficult for me as an autism. I much prefer when people come out and say what they mean straight away. Because I can't infer what you mean. Like, you could mutter under your breath, and I'm like, I can't tell. Very improvement in conversations. Spelling, grammar, punctuation. So, that wasn't because of her, by the way. That was because Ivana Fogarty sat me down and had a whole conversation with me. And my positive attitude was because she sat me down and had that conversation with me. And now we get into my grade 12 reports. See how there's a comments section and there's nothing in it? Wild. Wild. Someone should have wrote a comment. In the other one, it has comments, but the comments are just basic. It says I was promoted to grade 11. It says meets curricular standard. So they didn't look into it. But there was a personalized learning plan. And they told me about it. And yeah. Grade 5. This is my grade 5 report card. I didn't see this for a second, for a hot moment. It says my dead name. It says participates in class discussions. She's worked hard with notes in regards to her attentiveness and instruction. Keep up the hard work next year. She uses a variety of words with automaticity and self-corrects. She may hesitate occasionally with unfamiliar words. That's a huge thing. She has difficulty making inferences, reading between the lines. Hey, I'm autistic. They should have picked up on that. Math. Carefully, she'll need time, taking her time to carefully edit all the written work. That's because of my dyslexia. And my mom has something similar. She has dyscalculia. And she doesn't know she has dyscalculia. She's like, oh, well, I had the same thing with numbers. No, 8s and 9s look weird to me. I'm like, Mom, that's dyscalculia. You have dyscalculia. I've heard you read numbers wrong. That's dyscalculia. And she doesn't want to admit it. But she'll continue to tell me, I'm not autistic. I just need therapy. I just need to calm down. And I'm like, girl, no, like, this is a problem. And she continues to be like, well, it wasn't a problem back in my day, so it's not a problem now. And I'm like, girl, that's bullshit. You know it. You hid peanut butter under your bed. Like, you at least had an eating disorder of some sort. Math. We continue to work on our mental math strategies and multiplication factors to 9. No, I had a real problem with counting multiplication factors that were 9. In fact, I still use this trick to do math in times 9. If you don't know, the trick is 9 times 5, 45. 9 times 6, 54. It works. It works. But it's your hands. It only works for the 9, though. She should review her multiplications tables over 9 over summer. Which my dad literally, like, ingrained them into my head. Like, we had a multiplication table, and I wouldn't get to do certain activities unless I completed my multiplication tables. Like, they held me back on Halloween one year because I refused to do my multiplication, kind of signed off on some things that I shouldn't have been signing off on with my mom's signature. Because I was autism, and my mom was not very community parent. She was like, I don't want anything to do with those kids. I don't want anything to do with their parents. I'm hands off, right? And that makes sense, but, like, at the same time, does it? When your kid is suffering from stuff and you want them to communicate with people. Anyways, English, we worked on a poetry unit and completed a poetry booklet. The students worked on reading comprehension questions and shared their written work. Again, didn't talk about what that was like to the parents. But I did a really good job. I remember doing a really good job for my grade level. Like, I read an entire book on hamsters. I have a hamster now. Um, uh, yeah. And then there's been progress on running, throwing, jumping, advances of change of direction, balancing, and rotations. A bunch of bullshit. Yeah, it said I was appropriate achievement. Appropriate achievement. My personal, critical, and evaluative response was at a 50. So if you can think about that, I'm half of where I should be in terms of my critical and evaluative responses. And that's back in 2016, 2017. And that's at Riverview. And then, again, this one just says I have a personalized learning plan and doesn't specify shit other than that. And then pleasant, performance meets standards, critical thinker, pleasant and cooperative, gets along well with others. Very normal, very, very normal. The only thing I failed in was chemistry, and that's because at the time, I was dating this guy in my class, and the guy in my class broke up with me right before the midterms. Yeah, I know, that sucks. But it also stunted how I feel about learning. Because when I learn things and when I develop things in my head, I was thinking of that relationship the entire time I was doing the test. So I was crying with a box of Kleenex on my desk doing the midterms. It was probably brutal. And everyone was staring at me because they felt bad for me because I entered late into the chemistry class with my ringer was the Fortnite default dance. And it played super loud, couldn't turn down the volume, she talked to me after class that I couldn't go out at lunch anymore. It was super embarrassing, actually. Now, grade 8, it says, pleasant and speaks English during French class. So then, why would you punish that, though? Because it's an English school. It's an English school. It's not like I was in a French program. Well, I was in a French program for a long time, but then I switched out of the French program to the English program, and this would have been around the same time that I did that. But yeah, the teacher said needs to develop organizational skills. So my organized skills were all over the place. I'm like a disorganized, organized type, if that makes any sense to you. So like my papers were thrown about, and I could still find them. Why is my phone flipping? I don't like that. I don't like that. Stand up, phone. Stand up. Anyways. And then the last one says, did not receive chemistry 11-2, summer school suggested. So my mom could have gotten me enrolled in summer school and didn't. Probably because it costed money, but there was apparently a cheaper alternative, and she still didn't do that for me. So my education level is basically a grade 5 learning education, which sounds shitty to admit out loud. But that's my comprehension level, is like a grade 5 level, because of all the ineptitude in my personalized learning plan was never followed. And his was hidden from him. Like, you gotta understand that, like, they had a plan for him. They just didn't follow it. So now I'm like, okay, can I follow that for him? Which is what I want to do. I want to be there for him, and I want to be there for myself also. But when I look at things from a deeper perspective, I can't help but feel like this is all I am, and this is all I'll ever be. And that's a really stigmatizing thought. And I don't know how to get over it. So I'm talking about it. Because the idea that um, that's all I am to somebody somewhere in the district is exhausting. Um, and the fact that I called the Anglophone East School District and they hung up on me. I called the Ontario School District. They hung up on me also. I'm getting pretty sick and tired of the feds doing absolutely nothing. And sending files to God knows where and then being like, well, so and so probably has it, but unless it's been put on film and destroyed, we have nothing. Like that hands-off approach is really pissing me off. So I would like the government to get its shit together and be able to send files to the disability students who had personalized learning plans, because we would like to know that information, especially the the counseling stuff. Like, what the fuck were they writing down? If they have no notes on the files, then what the fuck were they writing down? That's all. I just needed to vent to someone, and I felt like you were the person who was gonna listen, but you probably will. It's just a mess. So I don't blame you for not wanting to. But yeah, that's what's been going on. And I don't have a place to voice it. So I'm voicing it on live for someone to listen into later. Um, Thanks for being here. And I appreciate you being here so much. Um, yeah. Thanks for being here. Thanks for paying attention. Thanks for leaving mid convo, but you probably had a reason to. Amen. Thank you. Thank you. It's a you know when people say like they hope things get better for you, and you're like, yeah, things will get better, but like in your head you're like, oh man, shit's gonna get 10 times worse and this person has no idea. um and like trying to be like, hey, please help. Because I'm like, I'm stressed out. I don't know what to do. I got my report cards from back when so I could try and scrape some sort of understanding together. Listen, I don't know how my disorder got that bad that I needed to have a 19-20 minute discussion about it, but I hope things get better for you too. Because you deserve to know that someone's there for you too, despite however weird things are and how meta this might feel. Um, but yeah. Thanks. How are you doing, by the way? I always wonder how you're doing. Like, I'll literally roll over in bed and be like, "Oh, you're texting who again? Can you check if they're okay?" Um, Food that's better homemade. Oh, Dorito drama. Dorito drama. It's like you get nacho Doritos, right? You get hamburger meat. You fry your hamburger meat, you drain the meat, you put it on the chips and your nachos, and you eat it like that. It's it's beautiful. If especially if you throw it in the onion with a couple of green onions, like that's the homemade meal you want. Like for your like if you're like hungry but you're like, "Man, I really don't want to cook something." That's what you cook. Okay? Anyways, um this has been an update and I hope you guys enjoyed the update despite how chaotic it might be. So, thank you for being here. And I hope, as always, that you're doing well wherever you are. So, yeah. Bye.